We got one. Miami Hurricanes just beat Florida State and UCF for this transfer portal wide receiver. Another experienced weapon for Carson Beck. From the 513 to the 305. Tony Johnson, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
With this transfer portal, Mario Cristobal keeps me on my toes, right? We had 3 transfers in one night on Saturday night last week. Now they hit me in the middle of the afternoon. I wasn't on vacation. I was at Publix when Tony Johnson to Miami landed. I'm Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen or your second listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this special emergency episode, we'll talk about the Miami Hurricanes transfer portal haul so far. And, of course, the newest name to join the list today, former Cincinnati Bearcat, actually started his career at FAU. He's from Ocala. So Tony Johnson clearly wanted to come back to the Sunshine State when he was deciding between Miami, Florida State, and UCF. But Tony Johnson is now a Miami Hurricane, and who better to talk about this with than the transfer portal and recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, the host of the Portal podcast. And so, Brian, this is a player. I know that like Miami fans are going to say, did we really need another slot receiver? But let's start with Tony Johnson's experience, Brian, having played extensively for the last 3 years.
That's everything. That's everything, because who do they open up with, Alex? Is that a team that has defensive backs?
Notre Dame? Yeah, they got a few.
How many receivers caught a pass against Notre Dame in the Penn State game? 0.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
yeah. So they still have some guys coming back. They're NFL players. If you don't have experienced guys against them, they're going to have problems. So they get Keelan Marion, and now they get Tony Johnson. I think that's really smart. I like JoJo. He's a good player, but he didn't play much last year, and they don't have a lot of experience otherwise because they had some dudes at receiver last year. They just played their last year at Miami. This is going to give them so many more options, and it's an insurance policy. If somebody gets hurt, worst case, you throw JoJo out there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he'll start now. Like, there's a competition, but like,
I think he's going to. I think JoJo will probably start. I believe, but it's there's more guys in the room now. But JoJo, I think, will start. He had a great spring.
That's great, but now he also doesn't have to play every freaking rep too. It's 100 degrees on that field. I know what it's like down there during those games. Late August, Miami Gardens. That's not going to be very easy. So you got to rotate guys. You're going against a really good opponent, and you play Florida pretty soon after that too. They got some pretty talented defensive backs. I don't know if they're coached well. That's another story. But they have to find a way to rotate in some of these guys because they're just not that deep at receiver. I love the pickup, and getting a veteran like that, it's only going to help the younger players grow too.
Yeah, so Tony Johnson this past season at Cincinnati, 48 receptions, 449 receiving yards, and he led the Bearcats with 6 receiving touchdowns this past year. He's around 5'11", 187 pounds. Now, he's played a little bit on the outside, but 77% of his snaps came at slot receiver this past year. And Brian, he's also got a really good story. I mean, he came out as a walk-on at a now good program, Ocala Vanguard, which I'm sure very familiar with. But he actually started college at FAU as a walk-on, and then earned himself a scholarship. Has played really well for the past 3 seasons, 2 at FAU and then 1 at Cincinnati. And he's an 88 grade in the portal, which has him as a high 3-star. I think 90 is the cutoff line for 4 stars. So he went his way from, a walk-on to a high 3-star portal guy. So this is a player that's gotten better every single year.
That's what you got to ask for too. If you're going to go out and spend some money in the spring portal, you need the proven production. Johnson's got it. I liked a couple of these other stats too that he had. His hands, 81 is the grade on like the drops. I call it hands. Look, first game of the year, your offense is not going to be full bore. You need it to click as best you can. Can't have any drops. That's really important. And like you said, he led the team in touchdowns. I don't care. Cincinnati wasn't very good. I get it. But he still led the team in touchdowns. That's a good sign. So Miami's getting a veteran that's proven. It's going to be consistent for you. That's going to make it easier for Carson Beck and everybody on Miami's offense.
Yeah, and you mentioned him joining, Keelan Marion, who committed on Saturday, is an experienced guy, and then the receiver that they added back in January, CJ Daniels from LSU, who's actually a 6-year senior. So you can see what the strategy is, Brian, when it comes to the receivers that Miami is adding. Like, they're excited about, their young talent, JoJo Trader, but he hasn't played in a lot of meaningful games. Like, the most playing time he got was actually in the Pop-Tarts Bowl last year, where he played very well. So an up-and-coming player, not a whole lot of experience. Ray Joseph has been with the program for a couple of years, not a whole lot of experience. Nye Carr, same thing. By the way, a lot of people ask me about Chance Robinson. How come you don't talk about Chance Robinson? The reason why I don't talk about him that much is he was injured for the entire spring. So I don't mean to leave him out. I still have very high hopes for Chance Robinson as a young receiver heading into his second year. He's just been bitten by the injury bug. But, to add guys like Tony Johnson and CJ Daniels and Keelan Marion to that group, it's really important, because we got to remember, Brian, Miami has a very experienced quarterback who's on essentially a 1-year deal in Carson Beck. He's got 1 year of eligibility. You need to make sure to maximize his opportunities this year, because what was one of the problems Beck had at Georgia last year? They led the nation in drops. We can't have that again.
That's really wild to have that happen at Georgia. I'm sure he'd like to see the ball caught. Just going to go out on a limb and speak for Carson on that one. That's bizarre. But yeah, I'm sure that he spoke to the people at Miami, everybody, back office, Mario, everybody. Hey, can we get some more experience at receiver, add to the depth? They had conversations with him. Why wouldn't they? So hopefully for his sake, these are guys that can get acclimated. You just got to pick up the playbook. That's not fun, but you got the whole summer. They should be able to do it. They need to hit the ground running against Notre Dame. They need to be efficient against the Irish, because they got some DBs.
Yeah, and Notre Dame week 1, Florida week 4. So they have a couple of their toughest games on the schedule right within that first month. And for Tony Johnson, he made his Miami visit April 24th through the 25th. So 4 days, thought on it. Family probably prayed on it. And then April 29th, he makes the decision he wants to be a Cane. Let's talk about the rest of Miami's portal efforts when we come back. We got the portal overlord with us, Brian Smith. I am Alex Donno. We keep it rolling right here on this brand new episode. Oh, my friends, the only ticket app that I use is Game Time. You're getting the best deals, the best features, and the prices actually go down the closer you get to the event, which is pretty remarkable. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in that arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it easy and fast to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer. Their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Guys, the all-in pricing feature at Game Time means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create your account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're also brought to you by FanDuel. Guys, speaking of the playoffs going on right now, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs are in full swing, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and you place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into those player props. Props like three-pointers, steals, assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, even after the game tips off, live betting is a game changer. You can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So do not miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We have Brian Smith with us from the Portal podcast. Make that your next listen. He's keeping people updated on everything going on with the transfer portal. And by the way, Brian, I mentioned UCF and Florida State like being, the other kind of finalist for Tony Johnson. You also cover Florida State. Like, what was the buzz like on that side? Did they feel like they came close?
Well, from what I heard is they thought they had a chance at him. They were bringing him in a visit. Just got to see how it goes. And I never heard anything after that. I need to check since we talked just a few minutes ago before the podcast. I don't know if they thought they were going to get him or not, but take this into consideration. Florida State didn't lose one. They didn't lose two. They lost 3 receivers this spring. They're not in a good place at wide receiver right now, man. They're not. No. So this one hurts them probably as much, if not more, than if Miami had lost him. Like, they're inexperienced, but Florida State, okay, you got Deuce, okay, and you brought in Squirrel White, but after that, it's completely inexperienced. So they're not in a great spot.
Now, let me ask you, because Miami actually has a visit in progress today, and hopefully he's going to be, in a couple hours getting his dinner at Prime 112, and that's AJ Haulcy, the safety out of Houston. I'm sure you've had a chance to scout this player with a couple of big SEC schools also in the mix for Haulcy.
Yeah, that's a big-time player, man. He had over 70 tackles. He was a guy that got to the football. He made some picks. He's well over 200 pounds. He started every game he's played in college. Like, he is the complete package. Yeah. I mean, Ole Miss and several other schools went after him. Texas, LSU, the list is long. This would be a grand slam. This is not a home run. This is a grand slam if he goes to Miami. He'll be their best safety almost immediately. Almost immediately. Yeah.
Hopefully.
He's an NFL player. He's an NFL player.
Wow. I know Miami is probably going to try to lock that one up and not let him leave Coral Gables, but we'll see, because if he does leave Coral Gables, I know LSU is trying to be next up in that sweepstakes. We'll see what happens with AJ Haulcy as he's at Miami today. So, if we go overall, winter and spring portal, because they're both class of 2025, Miami has done most of their work in the winter portal. They have the 4th rated portal class in the country, according to 24/7 Sports. I would imagine if they can land AJ Haulcy, that may bump them up into the top 3, but 1 or 2 maybe. Yeah.
He's pretty good, man.
Yeah. And so far here in April, Miami, I mentioned the trifecta over the weekend. They landed NC State linebacker Kamal Bonner. They landed Texas kicker Bert Auburn, and they landed Keelan Marion, another receiver / kick returner out of BYU. And now today they land slot receiver Tony Johnson out of Cincinnati. How do you feel overall about what Miami's done here in spring?
Well, I mean, they filled some needs first off. They got experience second, and they did it against elite competition. So they're obviously spending some money. They got involved quickly. The only miss they had was Pena, but I don't know if that was a miss because of what he was asking. So Penn State was one of the worst teams in NIL. Suddenly they've changed their tune. I don't know what they paid, but I heard it was a lot. So this is their chance to win a title. So they probably said to heck with it. But Penn State gets that. But if you go get Johnson, you know what I mean? Like it's not like they got Marion. Like he could probably play slot too. He's very shifty. I think he has 3 touchdowns in his career. He's got return. Like you've got to be shifty to do that. I think they'll be just fine at wide receiver now that they got those 2 added. Just got to keep everybody healthy. They're not super deep, but they got some talent.
Yeah. Well, and a big thing for me, and we talked about this maybe a week and a half ago, retention, right? Where I thought Miami did a really good job there. I mean, I would say Zaquan Patterson, to me, the most notable loss, the safety. They lost defensive tackle Joshua Horton. They lost defensive end Elias Rudolph. They lost kicker Abram Murray, which explains why Bert Auburn is here now. And I feel like I may be leaving out. Oh, they lost Emmanuel Carnley, who was a cornerback who came in January, left in April. And Miami had thought they were going to lose Nye Carr, but he decided to stay and removed his name from the portal, which I think was big. So, I mean, to only lose 5 guys of kind of varying impacts, I thought Miami did a really good job, because a lot of like the most paranoid Miami fans were thinking, oh, they're going to lose a ton of guys in the portal, and they retained very well, I thought. That's
part of what you got to do now. I think it's the most important. Ohio State didn't lose anybody. Like that's insane. I don't know if that'll ever happen again, but there are very few schools that don't lose a starter. It's hard. Out of the guys they lost, did Miami lose a starter? I don't think so.
Not a surefire starter. No, they didn't.
Then you're ahead of the curve, Alex. That's where it's at, man. Texas or anybody else, you're going to lose some guys early to the draft. You're going to have guys get hurt. if you add on 2 or 3 starters that just hit the portal, your chances of even coming close to what your goals are probably not very good. So that's the key. It's retention, because those guys already know the system. They're in your program. You want to have chemistry. So I think Miami did the right thing.
Make sure you guys check Brian out. The Portal podcast is like, I kind of picture, Brian, you do a 24-hour feed. Like, I don't think you take breaks. I think you just do one long stream that never ends, right? Is that how it's been going?
Well, I have at least 2 shows a day, pretty much every day. So it's everybody has portal needs. Every P4 school, I'm going to have them on my show at some point. And then there's just the updates on who's going where and why. It's never ending. So, because we don't have a specific day like we do in recruiting. You know when National Signing Day is.
Right.
For portal guys, Saturday night at 8 o'clock, Alex. It's always when you're out to dinner with your wife. That's how Mario schedules his plan commits. I mean, it's tough. I'm sure your wife hates Mario at this point, but that's another story.
Oh, she does. Like, we're out to dinner. She's like, "Why are you on your phone?" And I'm like, "Well, we just landed 3 guys in the portal," was what I said this past Saturday.
I thought that went over really well. But
yeah, my wife hates Mario Cristobal. If they ever meet, she's throwing hands on site.
There it is. But yeah, that's the portal in general, man. You don't know when somebody's going to pop. So the Portal podcast definitely has a little bit for everybody.
Well, make sure you check out the Portal podcast. And guys, make sure you subscribe to the Portal, subscribe to Locked On Canes. We still have another episode coming out tonight, by the way, Truth Teller Tuesday with Bruce Warner and former Miami Hurricanes defensive tackle Mark Caesar. So this is like a threefer. I'm busy today. So we appreciate Brian. We appreciate all of you. We'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.